So I say you develop the right thought patterns, the right beliefs and habit, and then I'm going to say from a marketing point of view that you got to target the right markets and the right clients in your business, okay? You've heard the saying, if you're going to go fishing, go where the fish are. Don't go to a pond or a lake where there's no fish. Go where the fish are at. Now, as you know, with Sia and with Claire, is that they focused on certain markets, didn't they? So really, Sia's focus, okay, has been, in a way, person to person, where he's interviewing people, and then it's business to business, but he's looking at the corporate social investment that touches him into public and government, so he knows exactly where he's going to go. Okay, here's my market. Now, once you decide on that market, you know, it could be corporate social investment, public government, small, medium, or large corporates, educational institutions, distributors. Is it geographic? Is your business geographic? Why market way over there if most of your customers are going to come within a kilometer? Then put your effort into that community, okay? It could be gender, it could be women, okay? It could be demographics, which means age groups, or psychographics. Now, so what you want to do, once you focus, you want to categorize your clients. And so you'll use criteria to categorize. You'll say, you know, what kind of income level or what kind of volume would they have in their business? What's their buying power? You could say how convenient it is to get to them. Okay, do I have some internal contacts that I can deal with? But you have criteria and you categorize them. Who are the AAAs, who are the AAs, and who are the A's? These are the absolutes. And then you have the B's, and these are the ones that are beneficial to have, and the C's are the one that usually you have to have convenient way or conveniences to handle them. And so all the A, B's, and C's are important to you, and there will be some clients that are D's, and these are the ones you want to detach or disengage. Somebody that doesn't pay their bills, do you want them? No, they don't pay their bills. If somebody's so much trouble that every time you go near them, it takes days to straighten out stuff with them, maybe you don't want them. I don't know. It depends on how much maybe your criteria is the volume of business that they give you that you put up with it. But there are D's. So you categorize your clients. And why do you do it? And this is an affirmation you have in your self-talk sheet there, is I honor and I respect. Very important. Most of us don't. I honor and respect my time, my energy, my ability, my money, my reputation. Think of it continually, because then you're focusing. You're getting rid of a whole lot of stuff that you get involved in. And by the way, you know, sometimes just even conversations you get involved in. You know, and how often do we get into conversations, get emotionally upset about stuff that we just can't do anything about whatsoever? Okay? And focus on what you need in your life or in your family or in your business. Okay? So you target the right clients with the right frequency. And we say we target, and how important is frequency? This was a National Dry Goods Association of America survey back a few years ago, and they took a large group of salespeople, and they wanted to find out what frequency did, because you hear me talk frequency, okay, persistence. And here's what they found out about the group, is that 48% of the people that they surveyed, 48% of the salespeople would make one call, and after a good solid no from a potential client, they stopped calling. Look, my brother-in-law works in the same industry you work in. If I buy from you, I get thrown out of the family. That's a pretty solid no. 48% of the people say no sense going back there. Okay? 25% would make 2 calls, take 2 no's from the same person and quit. 15% would make 3 calls, take 3 no's and stop. And they found that 12% would make 3 calls, take 3 no's and continue calling. These people were responsible for 80% of all the sales. Now, let me say this. You know, if you're calling on a AAA, a AA, and A, it may take you 10, 15, 20 times to finally get their business. But if you did that to a C, you can't afford to have too many C's. Okay? And this is the focus that we need to have. I attract, and just think, I attract the right profitable clients, prospects, and opportunities on a daily basis. If you say that continually, you'll start seeing who is profitable and who isn't. Okay? And a profitable client doesn't have to be somebody that buys a lot from you. They may have a network, and you give them excellent service, but they open up all kinds of other doors. Okay? I daily target the right clients and prospects with the right frequency of contact. This is called the conversion ratio, which was another piece of research. And if you took 100 competitors' clients that are now with me, okay, and we looked at the number of contacts to get them over, you'd find something like this. On the first call to the 100, 2 would come over. And it wouldn't be because you're such a great salesperson, it'd be probably because they're mad at them. Okay, and you walked in at the right time. On the second call to the 98 that are left, 3 would come over. On the third call to the 95 that are left, 4 would come over. The fourth call to the 91, 10 would come over. And fifth call and onward is where 81% of all conversion business is done. Why? Okay? Because it's about relationships. You can't build a relationship without frequency. Okay? And you got stages of relationship development that we take and we go through, okay? Just out of interest here, are there any women in here that are footloose and fancy free? It means you're single, you're available, okay? Are there any women that are available? Just out of interest. And some friends may have to get them to put their hands up. Okay, you're available, and you're available, and you're available, and okay. And I had a guy put his hand up yesterday, and I said, you're not in the criteria, I'm sorry. You know? What is your name? Musi. Busi. Yeah, B-U-S-I. Yeah, Busi. Busi, what I'm going to ask you to do, just to demonstrate something here of how relationships are built, I'm going to ask you to just work with me for a couple of minutes. You can stay right there. But I need you to pretend a little bit. Can you do that and have a little fun with me? Pretend? Okay. So what I want you to do is, first off, I want you to pretend that you are attracted to me. Okay? And you're looking good. You got a nice eye there. Now, Bussy, I don't have to pretend, because I am attracted to you. Okay? And so what happens, see, we're at the event, and we're at the coffee break and stuff, and we chat to each other, and let me say this, we start at ground zero. See, I'm at ground zero with her. Now, to get into the attraction stage, it just doesn't automatically happen. And one of the key things is uniqueness, is a differentiator. You have to have something that's different than the next person for the person to be interested, to be attracted to you. So let me just test here, and you can pretend a little bit to see if we can't find out something about me that might be attractive to you. Do you like my Canadian accent? Yes. Okay, good. Okay, so therefore, sir, you're on the outside looking in. Okay? So there's the Canadian accent, and let me ask you this. Do you like a man that's very serious all the time, or do you like a guy that's kind of fun? What would you like? Kind of fun? Yes! Yes! Okay, kind of fun. And the third question is, do you like men that like to sponge off of you, like get you to spend your money on them, or do you like a guy that doesn't mind spending a bit of cash on you? Which do you prefer? The second option. Well, I got the money, honey. Okay, so that could make up for the age, eh? Right? Yeah. Would you rather be an older man's darling or a young man's slave? Okay, you're gonna say, yeah. Okay. And so let's say that we've made it into the attraction stage, okay? And a couple of things in here in the attraction stage, very important when you meet people in the beginning, make sure you underpromise and overdeliver. The biggest mistake is we overpromise and underdeliver, and we get wiped out in the beginning. Okay? So just be careful with that. And there's a number of other things in there that count. So you got the attraction stage, and see, this is where she was watching me, she's checking me out. Now, what the relationship will do, just like in business, it'll move from attraction to exploration, where we explore a bit further with each other. Okay? And let's say that, you know, we're doing well at the attraction stage, and I said, look, I'd love to take you to dinner next week. Would you love to come? Good stuff. Now, it's your pick. Whatever restaurant you'd like to go to, I'm paying. Okay? So where would you like to go? Which restaurant? The Spur. My kind of woman. Okay? And so we're off to the Spur. Okay? And see, she knows I'm also checking her out. She thinks later I'll get them. Okay? You know, so we drive down and we go to the Spur, And we're going to have a bite to eat. We sit down. The guy comes over with the wine list. And he says, would you like some wine with your dinner? And you say, yes, we'll have some wine. And she looks down the list and she said, but there's nothing here that appeals to me. And she says, do you have a wine cellar? And he says, we actually do, okay, at this one. And so would you like to see it? And she says, yes, I'd love to check out the wine cellar. And he looks at me and he said, sir, do you want to come? And I said, most certainly. And we go into the wine cellar. She looks around and she doesn't see anything she likes. And then finally she reaches up and she picks up this dusty bottle of wine and she said, this is it. And the guy looks at me and says, are you sure? He said, I just got to tell you, before you take this bottle, this is a 1,500 Rand bottle of wine. And she's watching me. And I look at him and said, give me 2 bottles. And then we'll have a really good night. Okay? Are you learning, man? You taking notes? Okay. And so we go in and we have a beautiful night together, and I made it past the test. So then we start dating on a regular basis, and it gets to the point where I'm not seeing anybody else and neither are you, okay? We agree? I don't want you seeing any of these other guys, okay? And so we're in the development stage, and this is the bonding stage. And then there'll come a point where we hit this line. And it would be one night I go over to pick her up, and I look at her and I said, Boosie, you don't look too happy, darling. She said, well, I'm not. I said, what's the problem, sweetheart? And she said, well, I don't know if you know, but I marked it on the calendar. It was 1 year ago today we went out on our first date. And are we just going to date and date and date and date and date and date? Like my friends are asking me, my parents are asking me, where are we going here in this relationship? Any guys ever had that question asked to you? Okay, where are we going in this relationship? And I say, well, Bussy, I'll tell you what. I am really, really glad you asked the question. Because you know the other day when we were in Santon City and we went by Brown's Jewelers and you saw in the window of Brown's Jeweler a ring that you really loved. Do you remember that? Well, sweetheart, I picked it up. And I'm just wondering if I could have your hand in marriage. And she says, let me see the rock. And then she accepts it, okay? Now, once she accepts that ring, it changes, doesn't it? That isn't the relationship that it was here. It's now jumped into the commitment stage, and she said, he's committed. And she gets on the phone now, and she phones her friend, and she says, he did it, he did it, he did it. And she's walking around with a ring, look. Right? And then I phone my friends, and what do they say? Shame. Shame. Okay? And now we plan for our wedding. So, you know, that's the potential supplier, short term, that could be asking for a proposal, developing supplier, trusted long-term supplier, and then we do the thing, we get married, and then over time, the relationship becomes the unity, okay? The unity stage, where we go from trusting to entrusting. Let's give Bussy a big round of applause. Come on, that was excellent. Thanks, Bussy. So it's about relationships, but you've got to put time and genuine assistance into relationships in order to have them. And if you have them and you don't do it, you lose them. So relationships are key. And here is a few affirmations that go with it. I am client-driven, I am solution-focused, and I am relationship-sensitive. I am always building win-win relationships with clients, prospects, suppliers, and important others in my life. I listen to understand, very important, not just to sell, advise, respond, and defend. And that's a tough one. Because when others are talking, we're trying to think about what we're going to say while they're talking. Listen to understand. And I see all the ways my connections serve me well. And by the gosh, when you have good relationships with a bunch of connections, there's many ways that it can serve you well and vice versa.